Have you ever finished dinner, tucked the leftovers into the refrigerator and thought, "I'll just warm this up tomorrow"? It's something millions of us do without giving it a second thought. But what if one of the healthiest looking meals in your fridge could become a very different meal after it's reheated the wrong way? As we get older, our bodies don't always handle food-related problems as easily as they once did. A meal that seems perfectly fine can sometimes cause stomach upset, expose you to harmful bacteria, or reduce the nutrients your body depends on. And if you're already managing diabetes, high blood pressure, or a sensitive digestive system, those small mistakes can matter even more. The surprising part is that this isn't just about fast food or greasy takeout. Some of the foods many people consider healthy are the ones that deserve the most attention when it comes to reheating. Now, that doesn't mean these foods are poison or that you should never eat leftovers. In many cases, the real issue is how the food is stored, how long it sits, and whether it's reheated safely. Understanding those differences can help you enjoy leftovers with much more confidence. Over the years, food safety experts and cancer specialists have repeatedly reminded us that reducing unnecessary exposure to harmful compounds and foodborne illness starts with simple everyday habits in the kitchen. Those habits may seem small, but over a lifetime, they can make a meaningful difference. Today, we're looking at 4 common foods that deserve a second look before they go back into the microwave or onto the stove. One of them is sitting in refrigerators across America almost every single day, and most people have no idea they're making the same mistake with it. If you care about protecting your health, preserving the nutrition in your meals, and making smarter choices for yourself and the people you love, this is information you'll be glad you know. The first food may surprise you because it's one of the healthiest vegetables you can put on your plate. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard. These vegetables are packed with vitamins, minerals, and natural compounds that support overall health. They're often recommended as part of a balanced diet, especially for older adults who want to protect their heart, bones, and brain. So why would anyone be cautious about reheating them? The answer has less to do with the vegetables themselves and more to do with what happens after they're cooked. Leafy greens naturally contain nitrates, which are harmless and found in many vegetables. Under certain conditions, especially if cooked greens are left at room temperature for too long before being refrigerated, some of those compounds can change in ways that aren't ideal. That's one reason food safety experts stress proper storage just as much as proper cooking. Here's where many people make a simple mistake. Dinner ends, the pan stays on the stove while everyone watches television or cleans up, and the leftovers don't make it into the refrigerator until hours later. The next day, the food is reheated until it's just warm, and no one thinks twice about it. The bigger concern isn't that reheating spinach automatically makes it dangerous. It's that time and temperature give bacteria a chance to grow. As bacteria multiply, some can produce toxins that reheating may not completely eliminate. For older adults whose immune systems may not respond as strongly as they once did, that can increase the risk of foodborne illness. A safer habit is surprisingly simple. After the meal, let hot food cool just enough to stop steaming, then refrigerate it within about 2 hours, or sooner if your kitchen is especially warm. When it's time to enjoy those leftovers, reheat them thoroughly until they're piping hot all the way through, not just warm around the edges. If you've ever wondered why one leftover meal tastes perfectly fine while another leaves you feeling uncomfortable a few hours later, careful storage is often part of the answer. The food itself isn't the enemy. The way it's handled makes all the difference. And the next food on this list is even more common. In fact, many families cook it in large batches every week, not realizing that one small habit can turn a convenient meal into an unnecessary health risk. The second food is cooked rice. And this one catches many people off guard. Rice seems so simple that it's easy to assume it's safe as long as you heat it up the next day. But cooked rice has a unique food safety concern that deserves attention. Uncooked rice can naturally contain spores from a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. Think of these spores as tiny survival capsules. Regular cooking can destroy the bacteria, but the spores may survive. If cooked rice is left sitting at room temperature for several hours, those spores can grow into bacteria that produce toxins. Here's the important part. Once some of those toxins are formed, reheating the rice may not get rid of them. That's why the problem isn't usually the microwave or the stovetop. It's what happened before the rice was put away. Imagine a family dinner on a Friday night. The pot of rice stays on the counter while everyone talks, watches a favorite TV show, or cleans the kitchen little by little. By the time someone remembers to refrigerate it, several hours have passed. The next afternoon, the rice is reheated and served with lunch. It smells normal. It tastes normal. Yet that's exactly the kind of situation food safety experts encourage people to avoid. The good news is that protecting yourself is easy. As soon as the meal is over, transfer leftover rice into a shallow container so it cools more quickly, then place it in the refrigerator. When you're ready to eat it again, reheat it until it's steaming hot all the way through, and avoid reheating the same batch over and over. If you're unsure how long it's been sitting in the fridge or on the counter, it's much safer to throw it away than to take the risk. The lesson here applies to more than just rice. Safe food handling is one of the simplest ways to protect your health, especially as we age. A few extra minutes of care today can help prevent days of discomfort later. The next food is one that many people believe becomes healthier after sitting overnight. In reality, one common reheating habit can reduce its quality and create problems that very few people ever think about. The third food is cooking oil that's been heated more than once. This often happens without us realizing it. Maybe you fry a few pieces of chicken, pour the leftover oil back into a container, and use it again a day or two later. Or perhaps the same oil stays in a countertop fryer for several meals. It may seem like a smart way to save money, but repeatedly heating oil can change its structure. Over time, high temperatures cause the oil to break down, creating compounds that aren't good for your body. Some research suggests that regularly eating foods cooked in repeatedly overheated oil may increase inflammation and oxidative stress, two processes that are linked with aging and many chronic diseases. While no single meal causes cancer, limiting unnecessary exposure to these damaged compounds is a sensible long-term habit. The signs aren't always obvious. The oil may look a little darker, smell stronger, or begin to smoke at a lower temperature than it did the first time. Those are clues that it's no longer at its best. A better approach is to cook with only the amount of oil you need whenever possible. If you do save leftover oil, strain out any food particles, store it in a clean, sealed container away from heat and light, and avoid using it again if it smells off, has become very dark, or has been heated multiple times. Fresh oil may cost a little more, but it's a small investment in your long-term health. The fourth food is one that almost every household has in the refrigerator: cooked chicken. Chicken is an excellent source of protein, especially for older adults who want to maintain muscle strength. But because raw chicken can carry harmful bacteria, cooked chicken must also be handled with care after the meal is over. The biggest mistake isn't reheating the chicken itself. It's reheating chicken that wasn't stored properly or warming it only until it's lukewarm. Thick pieces can feel hot on the outside while remaining too cool in the center. Reheating leftovers until they're steaming hot all the way through helps reduce the risk of foodborne illness. If the chicken has been left out for too long, has an unusual smell, a slimy texture, or you're simply not sure how old it is, don't rely on another trip through the microwave to make it safe. When in doubt, throw it out. That's a much safer choice than gambling with your health. These four foods have one thing in common. They're not dangerous because they're bad foods. The real difference comes down to how they're stored, handled, and reheated. Small kitchen habits can have a surprisingly big impact, especially as we get older. As you've seen, the real lesson isn't to fear leftovers. In fact, leftovers can save time, reduce food waste, and make healthy eating much easier. The key is treating them with the same care you gave them when they were first cooked. A few simple habits can go a long way. Refrigerate leftovers within about 2 hours of cooking or sooner if the room is very warm. Store them in shallow containers so they cool more quickly. Reheat food until it's steaming hot all the way through, and avoid reheating the same meal over and over again. And if something has been sitting out too long or you're not sure how old it is, it's always safer to let it go. Remember, protecting your health isn't usually about making one big change. It's about making small, consistent choices every day. The way you store a meal, the way you reheat it, and the decision to throw out questionable leftovers may seem minor, but those habits can help lower your risk of foodborne illness and support your overall well-being as you age. If there's one message to take away today, it's this: healthy food stays healthy only when it's handled safely. A nutritious meal doesn't lose its value because it's a leftover, but it does deserve a little attention before it ends up back on your plate. Thank you for spending these few minutes with me. I hope this information helps you feel more confident the next time you open your refrigerator and wonder what's safe to reheat. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing and sharing it with a friend or family member. A simple conversation about safe food habits could make a real difference for someone you care about. Until next time, take good care of yourself, stay curious, and remember that some of the best investments in your health begin with the everyday choices you make in your own kitchen.